Hello, Great Hearts Texas families, faculty, and staff, and welcome to our series, Championing Great-Hearted Texas Leaders. I'm here at Great Hearts Western Hills Upper School with Headmaster Keffer, who is one of our most veteran school leaders in Great Hearts, Texas. Headmaster Keffer, tell us about your journey to Great Hearts, and since you joined, all the different schools and places that you've led and taught in.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Curtis, for coming and visiting our school today. We're so proud of the work that we're doing here. My journey actually starts back in Arizona. I started as a parent. I was looking for a school when my daughter entered in Arizona, which was called junior high. She was thriving. I happened to be in a lobby and overheard the fact that they needed a volleyball coach. Not long after that, I ended up joining the coaches there. Practices were early in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. On the way out, about 7:45 before school was starting, I happened upon a table just outside the gym. And there was a group of probably 10th or 11th graders talking at a round table, initiated this conversation on their own. They were having a conversation about the nature of man. And was man innately good or bad? And I thought, wow, kids like this are talking about these things at this age at 7:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so I happened to be going to the home office to get fingerprinted. And I just happened to say, hey, I used to teach. I had this amazing conversation. Are you guys hiring? And I immediately got a job not long after that, started at Great Hearts, which is Archway Chandler in Arizona, then moved and helped open Archway Arate. And then that's next year, I moved to Texas to help open Great Hearts Northern Oaks. Brought my two kids with me, and my daughter graduated from the first graduating class at Great Hearts Monte Vista. My son graduated from the first graduating class at Great Hearts Northern Oaks. So my heart swells with Great Hearts. I was the headmaster at Great Hearts Northern Oaks for about 6 years in the lower school. And when I heard the call that Western Hills needed someone to give a little love, a little TLC to this community, I answered that call and came here. And for the first year, we were K-8. It was a crazy, wild year, but it was a lot of fun getting to work with the team members, and many of them who are still here as we expanded what we were doing. And we really worked hard to push the school from surviving to thriving. And I'm really happy to say that as we've now become two separate schools, a lower school and an upper school, under the auspices of Kyla Absher, that we are getting to that place of flourishing. And I'm just really thrilled you were able to come and see what we're doing here today.
Yeah, Headmaster Keffer, it was a beautiful day visiting classrooms. If you haven't come to tour Great Hearts Western Hills, I encourage you to do it. Obviously, our mission matters a lot to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, right? None of us would be here if that mission didn't resonate with some part of our soul. What part of Great Hearts' mission draws you in, like most animates the work that you do?
Such a good question. I did teach in a public school system in Arizona for 10 years, and I actually left, and I met with the principal before I left, and I said, there are serious cracks and fractures in the system that is public schools, and it's broken to the point that as a small piece of a big, big wheel, I don't feel like I can effectuate any change, and I'm leaving education. Unfortunately, I was going home to raise children, so that was a good thing, but I didn't think I'd ever come back. And it wasn't until that spark that I got working with those students, volleyball players, and seeing those students in the hallways. And I thought, maybe there's something different out there, and maybe this Great Hearts experiment is that thing that's going to make the difference in the culture. Because I really do believe in the fact that what classical education is doing is moving the culture forward, and it's passing down wisdom and experience from one generation to another. And that was missing. Because in a progressive public school system, the focus is really on utility. What is it that we can do for this child so that they can eventually get to the place where they make enough money to buy the car and the house that they want? And classical education is really about the whole person and about the hopes of graduating a good young man or woman. And what goes into making that good man or good woman is the inculcation of books that are read, that have been discussed, and discuss the things that men and women have been talking about since the beginning of time. And so we believe that whether or not you become a plumber or a lawyer, a doctor or a stay-at-home mom, that the education that you have here is going to be the best education for any one of those vocations because it makes you a well-rounded man or woman. We think of them as a Renaissance man or woman. They could play basketball on the street with people from the local village or town, and they could have dinner at a table with kings or queens. We want them to be able to never feel uncomfortable in any place in the world that they go.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What's your favorite piece of our curriculum?
I love the foundational pieces of language itself.
Mm-hmm.
In and of itself, the structure of language, whether it's Latin or Spanish or English, has a beautiful structure, and that is worth studying in and of itself. But the facets of history and how that's connected, and history, math and science. A couple of years ago, through the University of Dallas, I took a class called the Quadrivium, which is geometry, astronomy, mathematics, and music, and the connection between all of those things and their connection to the cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are all integrated together, and any one of them taken out doesn't give us what we need as human beings to really appreciate the world around us. The curriculum and the literature is amazing, and it's amazing what students have the ability to comprehend. I think we underestimate their ability to read deeply, to understand deeply, and to communicate in conversation with their peers about the things that the characters in the books are struggling with. We talk about it as moral imagination. The students' moral imagination is grown through the conversations that they have about the characters' choices between good and evil. So we're not having preaching conversations. We're not going to talk about, today, children, we're going to talk about the virtue of integrity. We're just going to see it as it plays out between the characters when they fail and when they are successful. So that sort of light bulb moment that students have is they talk about the different characters. They will come to the conclusions that they need to, that truth about human nature. The teacher doesn't always have to point it out. And that's what's really special about reading great books.
Headmaster Keffer, how does our mission and model shape our culture? I spent this morning with you seeing example after example of culture living out in an upper school. How does the mission and the curriculum come together to make that culture real?
It starts with the faculty.
Yeah.
It's the faculty. It's finding those like-minded individuals who have a love, first and foremost, for students. They have to love our children. They have to love the craziness of a middle schooler, the energy, and then that stage that's saying, I kind of want to be autonomous. I want to make my own decisions. That becomes a high schooler. You have to have a love for that, and then this passion and love for your content area. Those two things come together. The faculty member also brings their experience. So we also love about the fact that many of our faculty are jacks of many trades. Mm-hmm. They've done many things. They may have traveled. And so they share those things with students. So we ask our faculty to come and create an intentional space, whether that's in their classroom, it's in the hallway, it's in the gym. And then we teach our students how to live in that space. How to carry yourself. This is the space in which we're crazy. This is the space in which we are going to, this is professional. This is the classroom, it's professional space. And we say, and the students, if you're listening to this, you're going to say, Mrs. Keffer saying it again, there's a time and a place under the sun for every activity. And so we say, in the classroom, we're doing this activity. It requires this intentionality. And our faculty is what does that. So you can have a great curriculum, but if you don't have a passionate teacher who has a love for the student, I try to remind them constantly, you don't come to teach Latin or math, you come to teach students. You just so happen to be teaching Latin or math.
Yeah, that's the content that you're focusing on, but it's the child, the student, the scholar. That is the focus. Years ago, I remember having a conversation with you about what we do is not just student achievement, although that matters. It's student formation more holistically that is really the driver in many ways behind our work. What does student formation look like here, and how do you ensure you have well-rounded Renaissance young men and women?
This is a place for students to come and make a lot of mistakes. We know that they are not only in the process of growing their ability to read and write and do math and learn about science, but they are learning how to be humans. And so one of the things that we focus on in middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, is building student habits, building those habits that will serve them all the way forward. Some of those just in life, like self-control, that I don't love what I'm doing right now, but I have the ability to hold myself calmly and pay attention. And that's something that starts with kindergarten. So we're grateful for what they do in lower school. Kindergarten teachers, you're very important. So in middle school, they're really focused on those habits so that by the time they become a freshman in high school, we take off a lot of the constraints that were necessary for middle school. And now they are in charge of how things move going forward. Natural consequences really take into effect. If they're going to spend a lot of time outside the classroom, they're missing out on important, lessons that are happening. Most of them, though, have already now built 3 years of habits of organization in their locker, timeliness and being on time, time and place. This is not the time to use the restroom. It's the time to focus on the study. And so then they are now no longer distracted by all those things that their mind is saying, do this, but I should be doing this. And they now can really focus their attention on the classroom, in a humane letters class where they're listening to a conversation, they're jumping in and adding their points, and they're listening to the teacher. And then it's time for a break, but they can't wait to have that conversation with the teacher because they didn't get to say everything they wanted to say. And now they're so invested. So we want our high schoolers to feel invested in their own education, and no one is having to chase them down to say, what are you doing now? So habit formation focused really in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then in high school, we're really asking the students to walk alongside of the faculty. And then we hope someday when they graduate that those faculty members become their friends.
Yeah. And you also talked earlier today about Lyceum and some of the electives, right, that students are able to get. So see themselves not just in our core classes, but more broadly in the common arts.
Yes. So the classical school structure is structured around the liberal arts, then the fine arts of art and drama and music. And then there's that section of common arts I think a lot of classical schools miss out on. And those are those skills that one learns that serves the citizenry, things that you make or build that you could buy or sell. And so one of the things that we're trying right now and giving our high schoolers an opportunity to do is choose a Lyceum elective. Currently, we're offering metalworking, medical guild, stained glass, strength and conditioning, computer programming, film photography, and of course, they can choose a study hall. So we hope to expand those next year and give our students the opportunity to experience those things and not for necessarily utility, but for flourishing. We hope that when our students leave, that when they eventually get a job, and we hope they find a job that they love, but sometimes we work a job so that we can do those things that our heart really desires to do. And maybe that will be something like you build a shop out of your garage and you learned how to fuse metal together and you're making things creatively, and then you teach your children to do them. So we're hoping to build those things for their lives that will help them flourish.
Headmaster Keffer, throughout our time together today, I've seen students interacting with each other with so much friendship and passion for literature and for books. We've talked about electives and how you're thinking about building out this beautiful, amazing, great-hearted classical high school experience. I'm sure there's a lot of them. What are a few of the unique elements of Great Hearts Western Hills Upper Schools?
I'd like to think that we are the friendliest Great Hearts campus in San Antonio. One of the things that we have noticed that anytime a new student comes, when we check in with them at the end of the first day and the end of the first week, they say, I have 5 friends already. This has been the friendliest place I've ever been. And so we make that as a charge to our students. And it starts with the organization of our house system. We have 4 houses. We have 2 C.S. Lewis houses and 2 Tolkien houses. Our high school members are the captains and co-captains and the council members for those houses. They lead a lot of the activities, the pep rallies, the dances that happen out of those. We work real hard all week long, really hard, and then we play really hard on Fridays. So Fridays we have house games every Friday, including our high schoolers, and that makes for bonds of friendship. There's lots of different circles from which you can choose friendships. And I think in middle school, it's one of those things that we're working hard to teach them that you may have a best friend, but you're going to have a lot of acquaintances and you don't own anybody. And everything you do should be focused on what can I do for others? And we always ask them, what are you going to do today to build the community around you? We are 4 houses, but we are one great Spartan nation. And so that camaraderie under the Spartan flag and then divided into individual houses gives them the ability to have something that they can identify with that is bigger than just them, but small enough to make them feel known. So I would say that the community of friendship here is something pretty special.
Headmaster Keffer, I saw that friendship and those communities today in your school, and it's truly a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for recognizing that and being here today to see it for yourself. That means a lot to the teachers, the faculty, and the students. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Great Hearts Texas families, faculty, and staff, join me in extending a huge thank you and congratulations to Headmaster Keffer and everyone at the Great Hearts Western Hills Upper School team and community for the amazing work that they're doing here. And please join me next time as we continue to champion our great-hearted Texas leaders.